All right, I'll try and stick in this cage. The first question is, why did you begin the work in the first place? What was the impelling vision? This is tough stuff. Why not just be a normal chief? Why did you start?
So I can answer that by kind of covering that negative trifecta thing again, where these three things intersected, right, for Stockton. That's where I mentioned earlier, we sort of were the extremes in a couple areas, with finances, with staffing, and with violent crime. So we're in the best or the worst of each category. Not proud of where we were, that's just where we were. And so actually what occurred during that time, it's really about, it began in 2010, sort of through 2012, is the police department went into sort of a bunker mentality. And a lot of that was out of absolute necessity, because we just had the lowest staffing ratio we'd seen. I mean, it was just in a tremendous amount of workload, about 1,000 calls for service a day we handle, and violent crime was skyrocketing. So we became call responders instead of problem solvers, right? Which is where proper community policing philosophy is. You get to the root of the problems, you get to know the neighborhood. And we weren't doing that. We were going from call to call across the city, from stabbing to robbery. And when I say this bunker mentality that the Stockton Police Department went into, again, a lot of that was out of necessity, just because we weren't reaching out to the community anymore, because we were just chasing the tail of the next call for service. That's a bad place to be in. But then we also reeled in a lot of the bridges that we had out to the community, based on the reason that, you know, we just don't have time to get to these community meetings. We don't have time to be part of these different panels and groups. And so we learned that is the absolute last thing you want to do, is reel in those bridges from the community during that time. If anything, that's when you need the connections to the community the most. And the community, and this is where I give the city of Stockton great credit, is we had the community saying, no, you're going to put those bridges back out to the community. You know, we want to help. You need our help.
But Chief, you said you realized that many police departments throughout the country are doing that, and they don't get to "we realized." Was there something between that and "we realized" that spurred you? Because as you said, most police are historically, or caricature, hunter-gatherers. We're going to go out, we're going to bring in the bad guys, we're going to bring in the drugs, we're going to do that. You parse that word "realized." I realized. What did it for you?
You know, combination of two things. Data and research. So we're starting to get involved with, and you'll hear more from California Partnership for Safe Communities, and we just partnering with others outside of our police department, and seeing what the data shows, and then also actually listening to the community. Another person I'll point out is Pastor Curtis Smith here, and his group came to the city and said, you need to be more strategic in what you're doing, and that's a big part of what Ceasefire is about. So I would say a combination of seeing what the data and research is showing us and hearing from the community. And it was, if you will, sort of an awakening that, okay, we need to change trajectory here, and we need to make some difficult decisions. And the most difficult decision was not responding to certain types of calls for service. I know other departments have done this. But, for example, we had to put a response to property crime aside, sort of. Mm-hmm. And so that we could focus more on getting back in those communities, working on violent crime, getting out of the car. It came at a great cost. It was risky and it was controversial, but we just felt it had to be done to be able to properly focus on the issues of violent crime and trust building.